All right. Welcome to the Flip Connect Media Cast, episode 10. Today's interview, we have top real estate sales trainer, John Martinez. John's been building and training sales teams for almost 20 years. Founder of the REI Sales Academy, he maintains laser sharp focus on helping investors turn more leads into deals, training over 200 teams of investors and acquisitions managers across the country. John, welcome on board, bro.
Hey, what's going on, man? Good to be here.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad that you took some time out of your day to come share with the audience, man. I know you're super busy, you have a lot going on, but much respect, man.
Yeah, happy to be here, man. Anytime, anytime.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your life at this moment,
Yeah,
man. I know you got a
cool.
lot going on. Got a family at home.
Yeah. So, work from home in my home office right now. Beautiful wife, five awesome kids. Been in sales my whole life. As you said, about 20 years now. Training teams, building teams, and about the last five, I've just been working in the real estate investment space. So that takes up my day. I just work with investors and their acquisition agents on a daily basis, and just really focus on helping them turn those leads into deals if it's possible.
I love it. I love it. So we'll jump right in, man. I know these people are
Yeah,
super anxious to hear some of the nuggets. And you got what it takes, man. So what do you believe is the most important rule in sales? We're going to come out swinging.
yeah, yeah. Just hit me with that one. In sales in general, I'd say the most important rule um, is really to figure out the prospect, or in this industry, the seller's reasons for doing business with you. I think a lot of salespeople try to force the issue and convince people why they need to do business with them, or sell their property. And I think what the best salespeople or acquisition agents or investors in the country do is they kind of flip it. And instead of trying to force it and explain to people why this is the right decision, they sit back and they are more relaxed and they figure out all the reasons why someone would sell them the property, what is motivating them on a personal level, on a deeply personal level, and then they use that information to say, here's how I can help you get there. So I think that's the most important rule, is figure out what's important to them instead of telling them what's important to them.
It's powerful. It's powerful. Really building that relationship up front, right? Trying to
Yeah,
understand exactly what they're going through, feeling their emotions, and then also tapping into those pain points and
yeah,
having them to lead, walk around their problems, and really unveil what's going on under the hood, right?
yeah, man. That's exactly it. It's kind of like the way I imagine it is it's like acquisition agent speaking to, or an investor speaking to a seller, and they say, hey, like, number one, here's what we need to do. Let's figure out where you are on this map. Then let's figure out where you need to go. And then at the very end, I'm going to like map out how I would get you there, right? I'm going to map out the best route to get you from where you are today to where you want to be. And if that looks like a route you want to take, then, turn the keys and go. So I think that's it. Where are you? Where do you want to be? And then I'm going to do my best to see if I can get you there.
I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about your personal journey. You
Yeah.
started out with doing some corporate kind of sales,
Yeah.
progressed out of that. Tell us about some of those learning experiences and some of those things that have contributed to your overall growth and success.
Yeah, man. So I mean, it's not unlike almost everyone else's story. It started in sales, entry level, real young, all commission sales. Basically, a door to door salesman selling insurance. I sold health and life insurance to small business owners. So basically, what my days early on would consist of is just cold calling, seeing if I could get in the door anywhere, and setting up appointments for the next day, and then hitting those appointments and trying to sell some insurance, and just doing that day after day. I had about a 5-state territory, so I just kind of spent my week on the road. Um, do that long enough, did that long enough, got pretty good at it. At least, I wouldn't even say I was good at it, but I was better than my peers because I worked harder. Um, with the same insurance company, ended up having the opportunity to run a sales team. So hire, recruit, train, motivate, show different agents how to sell. Kind of took that and transitioned into a different type of sale. Years down the line, I got into tech sales, high tech stuff. Worked with a few different companies, from selling Cisco equipment, just high end IT stuff, to managed services, and so on, and just kept kind of climbing that corporate ladder until I was just running large sales teams, director of sales and marketing and VP of sales, those types of roles. And then after doing that for a decade or so, said, you know what, my favorite part of all this is the sales training part. So I kind of doubled down on that, started my own company, and did that. So to answer this that's kind of my journey. And to answer the second part of your question, what are some key lessons I've learned? What are some things that helped me get to where I am today? Man, I'm just going to pick these out of the air. But if now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to say number one is definitely never stop learning. Ever. I mean, on a daily basis, you never know. And as soon as you think you know what's going on, things change so rapidly. If you don't continue to learn, you're going to be left behind real quick, right? If you get too full of yourselves and go, okay, now I know everything. The second you think that is kind of when you're falling behind and someone else is going to crush you. So never stop learning. And this kind of feeds into the next one is, and this is something I struggle with on a daily basis. It's that defeat and failure is part of the journey. If you're afraid of it, sometimes I'm afraid of it, and it stops me from doing stuff. If I have a fear of failing, I don't take chances. I stop growing, and it's not until I overcome that fear over and over and over again that I see progress again. So never stop learning. Don't be afraid of the failure, because it's not even don't be afraid of it. You almost got to just embrace it. It's part of the journey, right? It's that's it. And there's so many cliche, sayings and stuff like that about that, but it could not be more true, right? Yep. We have one business, we have multiple businesses. So this morning we're going through some major changes, and it is scary because it has it's one of those businesses with high overhead, and any change means that you're going to lose all profit, and there's going to be this period of you're putting a ton of money into the business before you're recouping it again. And we don't know if the new direction is going to work, but it was one of those things where it's, hey, this has been a year coming, and we've just got to pull the trigger now. And it's scary, and we might fail, but you got to keep going for it. So those are probably never stop learning, embrace the failure or the chance of failure. Those are probably, I guess, the two biggest lessons I've learned. I'll throw one more in if you got a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the next one. And the next one I thought of is this. So I'm in a lot of masterminds. Love masterminds. And masterminds have taught me one thing that I didn't think they were going to teach me. I went into masterminds thinking that the biggest thing I'm going to learn are strategies and tactics and tools and resources, which are all there.
Right.
But the most impactful thing I've learned is once you're around 20, 50, 100, 200, 300 people who are all highly successful in their own right, you start to see these similarities. And because of masterminds, I learned what it really takes to be successful. And the one thing that kind of glues all these successful people together. And I thought it was going to be, they're brilliant in this way, or they're great with people, or they've got resources or access. And it was none of that stuff. Everyone I've ever met are so different. Some are extremely smart, some not so smart. Some are extremely talented in various ways, and some are just run-of-the-mill Joe like I am. And but the one thing that they all had in common, every single one, is they just take action. That is it. That's the one thing, the one measure of success is they're all action takers. That's the single thing. They all just go well, I'm going to do it, and I might do it right, I might do it wrong, but I'll just figure it out as I go, and I'm never going to stop trying. And once I learned that, it's oh man, so I or anyone else could basically do anything as long as you don't stop trying. So that was a huge lesson for me.
I love it. Yeah, man, I talk about that a lot. The only difference between where you are and where you truly want to be is the amount of action that you're willing to take.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it has to be focused action. You need to have a target. You need to know what direction you're heading.
Right.
But you're not going to achieve those results without that laser sharp focus and that massive action.
Yeah.
And then you think about what you think it's going to take to get there, and you could probably multiply that times 10 because it's going to be 10 times harder than you anticipated.
Yeah. Step one, you're going to run into all kinds of obstacles and go, man, I didn't see this coming.
Yeah. Yep. And going back to the other one, I believe that 100%, man. On the other side of your fear lies a promise. And what I've found is the more that you can face your fears head on, address those things, and run towards them, the more you're going to overcome them and conquer them, right?
Yeah.
You just got to push through, man. It's not for the faint heart.
No, I agree with you. It's not complex, but it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about, sales, the sales funnel. How is your real estate sales training different from like the traditional sales training? And what does that look like, thinking about a sales funnel?
Yeah. So I answer that a couple of ways. I think number one, what kind of makes us different is the way we deliver the training. And it was nothing, I didn't set out to deliver the training any certain way. I was kind of mimicking all the training I've had through the years and all the books I read and stuff like that. But what's happened over time is we found that the most effective way to train is by, we kind of have, it's kind of like an inside out method. So when we train salespeople, a lot of the salespeople we train, they're not salespeople. They're just people who ended up in a sales role and they're like, I wasn't born to do this. I don't do this naturally, but now I got to figure it out. So the most effective way we found to train them is we don't talk about like, here's home sellers or here's prospects over here. And they're like these crazy people who are going to do all these things you don't expect them to do. And you're going to have to pressure them to do this or that. The way we train is, hey, look, here's a certain scenario. Here's a sales scenario. Here's a situation. How do you feel when this happens to you? Oh, I do this. Okay, what's going through your head? What do you do? How do you react? What are all the things? Let's get it all out on the table. And we learn about what we do in all kinds of sales situations, decision-making situations, just random situations. And we train people to analyze how they act. And once they realize like, oh, you know what? Every time someone kind of puts the pressure on me, here's what I do. Or, hey, every time I'm forced with this type of decision, here's what I do. Here's how I react. Once people understand that, they go, that's exactly what they're doing on the other side of the table. And then the light bulb goes off and people just go, oh, so when I say this, they're going to do this. And when I put this kind of pressure on them, they're going to react this way. And if they're feeling upset or anxious, then the only way to calm them down is to do this. So our training is based on understand how you think and feel, because the people on the other side of the table, guess what? They're human too, and they're going to do the exact same thing you and your brother and your sister and everyone does in these decision-making situations. So that's how we deliver it, I think, differently than what anyone else does. And we just stumbled on that. It wasn't, we didn't come up with it. It's just we found over time that when we use certain examples and stuff, people really said, I get it now. I can do that. That makes sense. So that's the delivery. Now, the actual training piece, I think what makes us different is it's all based on fact and science. It's not like a bunch of blowhard type of like, let's just get you really pumped up and you go, increase your activity by 2x or 5x or whatever, and just you'll get more sales by working harder, which you can do, and that works. That's how I got my start in sales. I worked harder than anyone else. But and you need to work hard, right? But our training isn't about working hard. That's a known fact. You got to work your butt off, right? Our training is about what's actually effective. How do we take the leads that are coming in and convert at higher and higher and higher rates? And beyond just turning more leads into deals, how do we do that in such a way that those deals come to fruition faster? Instead of a 1 week turnaround, it's a 1 call close, right? And it's all science-based on on neuroscience and neuroeconomics and behavioral psychology and how do people actually make decisions? What does that look like? And sales studies like Huthwaite's study of 35,000 sales calls over 12 years. We just took all the data and we say, here's what we know for sure 100% about sales and how people make decisions. So that's going to be our sales processes. We're just going to walk through the decision process the way we already know they're making decisions. And we're going to use science and data as our guide. And I think that's what makes it so effective.
That's powerful. Yeah, when you understand that sales truly comes down to human psychology, tapping into those deep-rooted emotions, that's where you're able to identify the situation, walk around it, and really spike that engagement, right?
Yeah, man, 100%.
Would you say that very emotion is what drives the decision-making the most?
Yeah, it's all about emotion. 100% emotion. Every decision is emotion-based, every complex decision. And there's biological reasons and psychological reasons and all that kind of stuff. But yes, whether it's, if you're working corporate America and you're 45th down, the chain from the top, and you're just a purchasing agent, and you've got 45 different paper companies to choose from, that still comes down to an emotional decision, right? And that's what the data tells us. Any complex decision is made emotionally and justified logically. And there's almost nothing like that's more closely tied to emotion than the decision to sell the house, especially with distressed sellers, right? So those salespeople that are, or acquisition agents or investors that are having that conversation centered around, what's going on now, and how's that really impacting you? Like, what's that mean to you? I know you got a house. I know bills are tight. I know this. I know this. I know this is the situation, but that's clinical. Like, what's going on in your life? How's this impacting you? And what do you want to see? What are you hoping happens? And if that does happen, if I can help you get there or move towards there, what would that be like? And what's one feeling versus the other? And if you go down this journey, like, is it even worth taking that step? That conversation is what the best of the best are having. It's all tied into emotion. And then at the very end, it's just, and here's why it's logical sense. Here's why it actually makes sense to do that.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah, really diving in and understanding that your state means a lot when you're walking into that as well, right?
Yeah.
Having that belief and that confidence before you even enter into that sales situation, knowing that you have it in you, right?
Yeah.
It's like having faith. If you believe something is real, it's already yours, but you have to believe it, right? And until you can instill that belief in your people and your team, then you're going to kind of fail forward and walk through those emotions because you don't have the inner belief that you have the ability to close, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't, I mean, if you're in the business long enough, you see the people you help and the impact, and it makes you better at sales because the more you believe in what you do and know that you're actually helping. I think, like new acquisition agents get into this. I think there's a lot of baggage that comes with the industry. It's like, am I really helping these people? Am I doing the right thing? And once you start to see like this is the right thing, and
right.
I believe it. Like my mom was a motivated seller. About a year ago, my mom needed to sell her house, and she asked me what to do. And the situation was like, Mom, you need to sell for cash to an investor because this is the best thing for you right now. And I'm her son. I want what's best for her. So I believe in this industry and in the help that it gives. But then there's the other belief. Like once you believe in yourself, once you know you've got a process or a step-by-step, something that you can fall back on, and you can start to trust in that process as well. Like, hey, when I have the right conversation, the right deals are going to shake out. And the people who don't need us, they're going to show themselves quickly and I'll move on. So it's about believing in the industry, and I think it's also about believing in a process. And when you get to a point when you believe in both, I think you see a lot of success.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah, and understanding it's not going to work for every situation, every person, right? You're going to provide exactly what the people need. And if you're not the right answer, then you can guide them in the direction that can help them out, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not be the best fit, but we can promise that we will give them what they need, not always necessarily what they want. But again, we're there to be a problem solver. And when you truly come with a heart of service, I believe that's where everything starts to change as well.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, understanding that not every deal is meant to be is important, because I think a lot of salespeople, investors, acquisition agents beat themselves up when they don't get deals, even if they should have never got that deal. Like if it's not a fit 100%, right? It's like if you sold Kias and you're trying to sell a Mercedes-Benz owner, right? It's like, dude, you're not the Kia buyer. Like,
right.
I could try to sell you, but it's never going to fit because you're not my clientele. And you shouldn't beat yourself up about that. If someone wants like a high-end luxury $100,000 plus car for ego, for ride, for comfort, for whatever, and you're trying to sell them something different, and they don't buy that, they don't buy the Kia, it's like, well, no joke, they didn't buy the Kia. They're not your client, right? So what you should do, what the good salespeople do, is just say, hey, let's figure out if you're fit or not. And if you are fit, we're going to make this happen. But if you're not a fit, let's find this out quick so we don't waste a ton of time with each other and try to force a round peg into a square hole.
It's powerful. You identify that before you even jump in to your sales process, right?
Yeah, before you get too deep. You don't want to wait till the end to find that out.
Right. Feel free to stop me at any time. If you don't think this is a good fit or you want to stop, please let me know. It respects everyone's time and it lets them know that it's an open field.
Yeah,
right?
I love it, man. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So switching gears a little bit, I really believe that your overall success is built upon the consistent habits that you have in your life and your daily routine. Tell us a little bit about, your morning routine or your daily habits. What does that look like as far as like scheduling, and how do you prime your brain for overall success?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very habit driven. Never force myself to be. That's just the way I operate. I get into, I'm like the kind of guy who goes to a restaurant and orders the same thing every time. It's just how I'm built. So my daily, get up early. I like to get up early. There's no rhyme or reason for it. I go to the gym. I usually do some cardio at the gym, 5 in the morning or so, 5:30. It relaxes me. I also know that I'm a terrible eater, so I know when I burn a bunch of calories first thing in the morning, that when I mess up later, because I will mess up later, like it evens out. So I feel good about that. I know where my downfall is, so I take care of that first thing in the morning, right? I come home. I do most of my work in between. I see my wife and kids off at 8 o'clock. She takes them to daycare and school. About 8:30, I get to work. I do most of my work before noon. That's when all the heavy lifting's done, the important stuff. Um, Actually, it's really between like 8:30 and 11 is where all the important stuff gets done. At 11 o'clock, my wife and I have a personal trainer come in. We got a gym and like basketball court and all this stuff at our house. So he comes in, he trains us. We do the weight training and all that. After that, shower about noon. Wife and I go out to eat, spend some quality time together. If there's any loose ends to tie up in the afternoon, tie them up. And that's about it. I mean, honestly, the way we've built the business, it takes about a couple of very dedicated hours a day to really run the thing and grow the thing.
That's strong. That's strong. That goes back to busyness being the enemy of productivity, because you can stay busy all day and get absolutely nothing done.
I've done it I've done it a lot, man.
Yeah, yeah. I'm guilty of it almost every day. I mean, being completely honest. But you just got to figure out exactly what that most important thing that you need to check off your list is, and focus on that till it's complete, right?
Yeah.
And that takes some of the smaller things down the line out of the way as well. Makes you a lot more efficient. That's powerful.
Yeah, I think too much time is almost the enemy of productivity, because too much time is your to-do list grows. You take on too much. You don't focus on. You mentioned focus. You don't really focus on anything. But when you start to squeeze down your available time during the day, instead of what most people do, which is like, how do I free up more time to get more stuff done? It forces you to focus on what's going to move the needle today. If I can only do one thing or work on one thing today, what's it going to be? And you end up doing the most important stuff instead of just a lot of stuff. And for me, and particularly, I know that before noon, before lunchtime, those are my productivity hours. Like after lunch, I can work on something for hours, and it's just like I'm just not making progress. My brain's not there. So I know, like, I've got this little window of time where I'm super productive, and I have like this to-do list of probably 30 things at any given time, and I've just got to go, what's the most important thing? And it forces me to really analyze it and go, that's it. Let's knock this out. And for me, at least, it works.
Yeah. I mean, your mind's a muscle. It will get exhausted.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos says I schedule that one important meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning because I know I'm in that prime state. But anytime off after that point, I just don't have the tenacity to keep on going,
Right. I don't think anyone does. I mean, you can grind it out for only so long. And believe me, I had my years of grinding it out, but you burn out after a while, especially if you have a family, and those you start personal relationships break down. You start to, for me personally, I had depression set in when I just worked all the time because I wasn't doing anything fun. And you're like, if I'm working 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day, every day, and I have for the last year and the year before that, and that's all I see for the next 2 or 3 years, what the heck is there to look forward to? Like, it starts to tear you down.
And then you become so success driven that you set those metrics even higher, and you're pressing in, trying to get those results. And when you're not hitting those, it devastates you. It takes everything that you have, and then you got nothing left to give your family, your wife, who truly deserve the best of you.
Right. And the funny thing is, I mean, I think, we're kind of talking about just entrepreneurs in general. I think entrepreneurs have just that driven mindset, which is what makes them successful, but what also keeps them from ever feeling successful, because there's always a next level, right?
Right.
And that's what drives you to work your butt off. But that it's really tough. I mean, just speaking personally, on a very personal level, that's been something I've always struggled with. Is um, I've never felt successful, and I remember I was like, well, I want to make $100,000 a year, I'll be successful. Did it? Didn't feel any different. All right, when I have my own business, I'll feel I'm successful. Did it? Didn't feel successful. When I make half a million, $1 million a year, when I buy all the cool stuff, did it, still like, well, I'm not, they never felt successful. So you're right. There's like, you got to watch that. You got to be careful because that's a trap you can fall into and never get out of.
Absolutely. Absolutely is. It's like poison. It'll eat you
It
alive
is.
if you let it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think a lot of people talk about that, but I don't think there's anything more true. And I think every entrepreneur is built that way, and that's what makes them successful, but also
Right.
keeps them from ever feeling successful.
Yep. It's a constant pull.
Yeah,
It's never enough. There's
yeah.
always that next level. It's a major blessing, but it's a massive curse at the same time.
I agree. I agree 100%. Like sometimes I'm like, I speak to I talk to my wife, and it's like, sometimes I say I don't get people who just like they don't want a lot. They work their 9 to 5. They don't really have a lot. There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of things they'd like to do for themselves or their children or for others they can't do, and they spend a lot of energy just scraping by and trying to make things work. And I go, I just don't get that. But then the other side of me goes, well, wouldn't that just be great if I could do that and just be happy? Like, hey, if I just,
Yep.
clock in, clock out, I could work anywhere in the world. There's always going to be a job waiting for me and I could just be content. Wouldn't that be cool? So there's like a push and pull where part of me is really thankful that it's like, I'm glad I'm not built like that because I want a different life. But then the other part of me says, well, wouldn't that kind of be cool to like not want anything and just be satisfied? So I don't know what the right way is. I don't think there is a right way, but just things that go through my mind.
Yep. Sure sleep better at night. You don't have
Yeah,
101 things racing through your mind, what you could have done better, or what's
yeah,
on the next day's agenda.
yeah.
That's for sure. What would you say that your greatest strength is? Whether that be in business, life, relationships, what's your biggest superpower?
Yeah, I'd say my biggest superpower, for sure, without a doubt, is just strategic thinking. Just figuring out problems, figuring out ways to communicate with people, figuring things out. Operationally, I suck. Like I'm really bad operationally.
You're a
Um,
visionary.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The EOS stuff. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm definitely. I think I was like 90 in the 90 something percentile of visionary, and I'm really good at that stuff. But carrying it out, I'm really weak. So for my business, at least, because I'm so weak there, it doesn't work for me to hire people because I'm not a manager of people. I don't like it. I've done it in the past. I can do it, but it takes a ton of energy. So instead, I've had to think of processes and basically automations, automate
Yep.
everything in my business that I can do because I can muster up enough strength and it's fun to build it once. It's not fun for me to do something operationally over and over again. So what I found is my strength strategically thinking is how can I automate processes that aren't usually automated and make them work? And then I could put them in place and never think about them again. The next challenge comes up. If I try to hire people or do something that requires everyday attention for operational efficiency, I fall apart. So I just think that strategic thinking and figuring out those problems, that's reading the market, those types of things. Those are my strengths, which I love. But again, it's really hard to make money that way because anything you think of, any problem you solve, you then have to figure out how do I actually build something out of this.
Right. You've never considered bringing on an integrator, or would you say you have an integrator in place right now?
No, I mean, yes, I definitely have considered it, and I've attempted it a couple of times actually. Um, but what I found for me, my strength is to really automate and not just automate, but change things around, change the entire process, change my business model. Like I said, my strength is strategic thinking. So where most people say it has to be, you got to do things this way and I can automate it, or I've got to, or you've got to get an integrator, you've got to get people, you got to get these processes. Uh, Luckily, I'm good enough to go, you know what, I know that's what everyone else thinks, but I'm going to find my own way. And I end up not having to bring anybody on. I can automate, or I can change the business model, or I can play with pricing, products, services, delivery, and I've just always been able to figure out that way. Now we do have some service businesses that have a lot of moving parts, a lot of daily interaction, a lot of employees, and my wife runs those businesses. I tell her, I was like, no one's allowed to report to me. Like, not going to happen. Not going to do it. I don't like dealing with it. I don't like being tied down with meetings or anything. So that's you. And she excels there. So I guess in a way we do have an integrator, but for the sales training business for REI, it's just me, and we've been able to scale it up far past 7 figures, basically just working a couple hours a day.
Strong. That's strong. That's the dream. That's like the 4-hour work week tactic. You know, you put in just a little bit of time, you automate your life and let it run itself, you know?
Yeah.
Some things you want to do.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's the way everyone's got to do it, but for me, like, I think you got to build a business around who you are and your personality. And once I notice, like, these are the things I hate, these are the things I'm good at, sometimes you got to throw away what everyone else is telling you and go, that's great for your business.
Right.
But I know me, and that's not what I want. And this is the way I'm going to do it. So I think you got to be careful. Again, I said I'm in a lot of masterminds, and it's really sometimes dangerous to be in masterminds because you see things and you're like, that's the way I got to do it.
Shiny objects.
Yeah, you're like, that's how I got to do it, without asking yourself, like, is that really for me? And when you force yourself to go, I'm just going to pluck out a couple nuggets that I know align with my business and the way I like to do things and implement those, you have great success. But if you try to implement everyone else's business model, you'll crash and burn fast.
That's good. That's strong. Yeah, we're in the process of, big fan of Traction, the EOS system. Yeah. I just finished Rocket Fuel, where it talks about the visionary and integrator personalities. And it's very clear that, I see as a visionary too. Like, you think big, you're strategic, you lay out these plans. But when it comes to the follow through, the managing, bookkeeping, accounting, like, that's your weak spot. And you don't have the capacity to balance them both out.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of trying to phase my wife out of her day job. She has her license, so she can kind of clean up, the mess that we leave, the cold leads or the agent leads.
Yeah.
And we can really start to tackle everything in each bucket, right?
Yeah.
So
you need to solve that somehow. And there's a dozen ways to solve it, but that's it. And I think that I would guess that most entrepreneurs are visionaries. I mean, that would just be my gut feeling. I don't know what the stats are, but that would be my guess.
I would think so, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why most businesses fail, is because you get a good idea, you get a little traction, but when there's no follow through in processes and that next level up of business building, things fall through.
Yep. And you're not counting your profits first. You're always trying to scale to that next level. Well, if that next level fails or the bottom falls out, then you're stuck with nothing, right? So you got to make sure that you're properly delegating and have different exit strategies and everything you do. It's important.
Yeah.
So what would you say your best advice would be to a new investor, new wholesaler stepping into the business? Since you are focused around sales, what would you encourage them as far as their mindset and abilities?
Yeah, it actually has nothing to do with sales. I mean, if I'm just going to give my honest, real advice, my best advice is just do it. Like, just do it. The biggest problem I see with people who don't get to where they want to get to as quickly as they'd want to is because they overanalyze everything. Now, you do always want to look at your options. You want to make a good strategic guess, and you don't just jump headfirst into anything. But action trumps all. And you look and you go. And I see a lot of people that look for years without going. And then even if you look and you analyze things for years, you really don't know analyzing one thing is completely different than what happens in the real world. So the best advice is just do it. Get a good idea of what you want to do and just freaking go for it. And just know that it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to fall on your face. You're going to learn a lot of lessons. You're going to scrape your elbows. It's like that just happens. Know that going into it. Know that's part of the process. But just do it. Just do something. That's probably the best advice I got.
That's powerful. Your actions express your priorities, right?
Yeah.
And analysis paralysis is a real thing. If you're trying to take it all in, but you're not taking action, you're going to get absolutely nothing done. You're going to end up more confused than when you started. So recognizing what you need to focus on, which starting out should probably be that one marketing channel, that one form, you know, that one campaign, whatever it might be, because the more that you start chasing these shiny objects, you get distracted. One of my favorite parables, man, is where John Maxwell talks about when a lion trainer walks into a lion's den, right? He has a sidearm on his hip, but the most important tool that he has going into that lion's den is a four-legged stool. Because if the lion thrusts at him, he puts the stool in the lion's face and it tries to focus on all four objects at once and it paralyzes it, right? Our vision is very similar. You're trying to focus on so many different things and you get absolutely nothing done, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, absolutely. Every time I start to, I mean, it's just, I do it all the time, right? It's that, like you said, shiny object syndrome, like a new marketing channel or a new tool. And like I get 2 or 3 on my plate, all progress stops. Nothing happens until like every once in a while I go, what am I doing? And I clear my mind. I go, what's the one thing I'm going to do? And then bang, it's progress again. So, I mean, I totally get it. There could be a dozen marketing channels, but the best of the best use like 2 or 3, right?
Sure.
And they don't start with 2 or 3; they start with one. And once that one is producing a heck of an ROI, they go, now I've got extra capital. Let's start looking at a second one, and then a third one, and then I don't usually see many go past 3, maybe max of four channels.
That's strong. Let's get into some of the secret sauce. And if any of it you don't want to, you know, disclose, feel free just to, you know, kind of move on.
Yeah.
But what would you say at this current moment is your favorite marketing channel for your business?
Yeah. So I'll take this question on 2 ways. So for my business personally, and I'm not, you know, I don't buy real estate, but sales training, content marketing. I think content marketing is the future of all lead generation.
Sure.
Because technology, tactics, strategies. I mean, you see it in real estate, right? So in real estate, everyone can get into direct mail easily and very inexpensively now, right? You just find the right provider. PPC, Facebook marketing, whatever you got, right? It's just too cold calling. You can start cold calling in 15 minutes if you want to. You download some software, you grab a list, and bang, you're off.
Yep.
So what's happening now is everybody's doing the same marketing, and it's really hard to stand out. But with content marketing, you build a relationship and you kind of pre-sell before you even know who your prospect is. They find you, they attach to you, they relate to you, and when they're ready to buy or sell or whatever it is, they go right to you and it's a done deal.
That's powerful.
Yeah, so I think content marketing is the future of real estate investing, or the future of all sales, really. The hottest thing in real estate right now, I would say the most effective marketing is also the most expensive marketing. That's going to be pay per click because they're seeking you out.
Yep.
I think the easiest marketing channel is going to be probably just still the good old direct mail. Response rates have, you know, they used to be above 1%. Now they're probably across the board at 0.75 or so, but still you can get in there, you can field phone calls, you can win deals. So I think for the beginner, direct mail, once you got some, you know, some coins to kind of throw at it, then PPC is really, really effective, but extremely expensive.
Yep.
But I think the future is still content marketing. I think reaching out there, establishing the relationship, claiming your customer base before they're ready. And then when they are ready, they'll reach out. It's a done deal. You just basically do the paperwork. I think that's the future.
And you look at the evolution of marketing as well. And it used to be, you know, 10 years ago, you could bait and switch. You know, set up a PPC campaign for pennies on the dollar because it was way cheaper than almost like Facebook ads now. And people see you, that's the only option they have. So, you know, of course they're going to go with their instincts. But now you have this phone in your hand where people can do their research. Like, oh, myself being guilty, I can stand in Walmart and make sure that the price is competitive with Amazon or somewhere else, you know? So marketing has changed psychologically in a way that you have to come from a place of complete transparency and honesty where your audience is attracted to you because of the value that you add and what you freely give them. And you build up your following, your influence within that sphere, whatever it is. and you gain loyalty, right?
Yeah. I mean, internet has changed everything. Back in the day, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, salespeople, they were the keeper of knowledge. Like if people wanted to know, what you can do for me, they had to talk to a salesperson, right? That was like talking to a salesperson was step one. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Let's reach out to the company. Now talking to the salesperson, that happens at the end, right? People have already done research. They've already looked into a million things. They know so much more, and they only talk to you when they're ready to talk to you at the very end to maybe figure out what your offer is, or something specific about what you do. So that means you got to pre-sell. You got to get in front of them, right? Because if
Right.
you wait till the very end, you got to be strong in closing, right? You got to be strong on the close thing. But before, where like the buying cycle was this, like marketing was just the first little bit to get someone in your funnel, and then the whole rest was sales. Now it's reversed, where marketing is the whole front half, and then sales is like this little part. Now you still got to be super effective at each, but it's just changed the whole buy cycle.
That's good. That's good. Now, as far as your model, I know you have the boot camp, right? REI Sales Academy boot camp.
Yeah.
You got your online platform. What do you see being most effective within your business as far as your focus with your marketing budget, everything else? Would you say online marketing?
Online marketing, 100%. I mean, across the board, our marketing is it's pretty simple. I mean, like I said, everything we built in house is simplification. Like we don't make anything complex. We don't have multiple lists. We don't have different messages going out to different segmented lists or anything like that. We use, our philosophy is choose your own adventure. We never push any people, just like sales. We don't push anyone into anything. We let them choose their own adventure. Let them choose what's the next step and when's the time to take it. So our focus is 100% on value. Constantly provide as much value as possible, but always let people know what their next options are. For example, if you're in our email drip is not selling anything. Our email drip is every single email that goes out is, here's one way you could do this better. Here's how to overcome this. Here's how to do this. Here's exactly what to say in this situation. And then at the bottom of our email, it just says, hey, if you ever want more help, here's a few ways we can get it. Here's some free options. Here's some options that people pay for. Whenever you're ready, click the link. And that drives all of our business. So that's how we set up our marketing. Super simple. It's driven by the consumer, not driven by us. And because of that, we don't have to try to early in the marketing process figure out who's likely to buy what, who's this target person. We just provide value so they keep opening emails, keep watching podcasts, keep doing that stuff. And when they're ready, they're going to self-identify, raise their hand, and take the next step.
Yep. Value should always come first.
Yeah.
Coming from a place of service, right? How can you give more? Yep. That's awesome. What would you say your largest struggles are? I'm big on transparency. I feel like people don't talk about the rough side of business and life enough. I think it's important for people to see that. So in full transparency, what's your largest struggle right now?
Yeah, my largest struggle is, I mentioned it earlier, it's the operation side. Anytime, so we're always looking to grow, and the next step always involves some type of something operationally that has to be built or managed or something like that. And it's this struggle. I mean, I struggled this morning. I will be fully transparent. So we've got a call center that does outbound calling and generates leads and that type of stuff. And we've seen that profits have dropped off considerably over the last year or two for a variety of just normal market factors, right? More people are jumping into it. More businesses are springing up. More people can do it themselves. I don't help because I give all the scripts and everything away that we use. But we've noticed, like, all right, so this model isn't going to work forever. And what are we going to do? And does that mean, change pricing model? If we change pricing model, what's everything we need to do to talk to tell our customers about it? And staffing changes. Do we have the right staff at this point? Do we have to let people go? Do we even continue with that business model at all? Do we shut down the business? So the biggest struggle I have is that business is constantly changing, and always figuring out what the next step is really hard, because the bigger the business get, it requires more and more operationally, and that's where I struggle. And when there's people involved, you have to be so careful. And I'm not talking about like litigation and stuff like that, but it's people's lives. So when you can't just willy nilly be like, you're gone, or we don't have a job for you anymore, or I'm just going to hire anyone. Another example from this morning is I got very close to hiring someone in our sales training business, and I struggled with it. And after a lot of thought I put into it, I realized I can't do it. And even though I really wanted to hire this individual because they were a super high quality individual, um, I knew it wasn't time. So just anything people related, anything process related, I struggle with. I go back and forth. It takes me forever to make a decision. I've made a lot of bad decisions that I've had to clean up. So um, coping with that constant change, just in growing in the change that comes with it, it eats me up. Like that's what like I said, this morning I was texting my wife from the gym going, I am struggling with this. Like I am not sure what to do. And she tries to help me through it. And then it's rough, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets pretty rough sometimes. It's
Yep.
real life, not just our lives, but if you got employees and stuff, it's their lives, and you can't take that lightly.
That's right. It's your responsibility. You
Yeah,
don't want to make promises that cannot be fulfilled, and being able to see into the future and navigate those market cycles as they're shifting.
yeah.
It's an art. It really is.
It is. You got to always change. I mean, even with our sales training business, I mean, we were blessed to come into this being the only real REI sales trainers out there because we kind of there's a lot of old school stuff that was happening, but no one had ever just devoted themselves to sales training in this industry. So there's like a lot of stuff that was borrowed from places and a lot of old school kind of tactics and strategies. So we were able to take over the market fast. Now, because of that, and because the business grew so quickly in that segment, we had people who went through our training, blatantly ripped off our stuff, and became our competitors quickly. And navigating that, right? So like, how am I going to stay one step ahead when everyone just takes our stuff and then, hey, I'm training in the REI space now. I'm an expert sales trainer. How do you stay ahead in that? And that becomes more and more difficult every day as more people. A day doesn't go by where there's another guru who says, here's a script developed. And I was like, I remember, sitting in my bedroom, in bed one night, writing that script word for word. But everyone, I mean, it's the same with any business, right? Any business that's successful, people are going to copy. It's natural. But
Sure.
staying a step ahead, that's tough.
That's real tough.
Yeah.
There's a fine line too, because again, success models, right? Great entrepreneurs are able to model other people that are ahead of them.
Right.
There's a fine line as far as, content, all that copyright.
Yeah, there is. And you wish everyone success, but I wish myself the most success. So I
Sure.
want to stay a step ahead.
Yep. Absolutely. Learning to cope with it, man. And just knowing that we're all human beings, we're all imperfect.
Yeah.
And knowing the battle that goes on within your mind every single day, right? Because there's a battle. You got the voice of reason, the voice of doubt, and you got the voice of faith telling you to push forward. You got to fight those battles, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's every business owner ever, right? It's like I don't think a lot of people see the inside of it. I think a lot of people, when you find a little bit of success, people see like what you have, or like even I'm sure there's some people who think like, oh, you only work half the day, and you own a business. That's like the life. But the thing is, the rest of the day, I'm tearing like this morning, I spent 3 hours tearing myself up over a single decision and how different lives could be impacted. My wife too, and there's a real struggle. And sometimes, things are great, but you make one big mistake, it could be a very expensive mistake that could be life altering, not just for those around you, but for you as well. So I think, with with that success or with anything, there's the opposite side of the coin, and stress and consequences and everything just start ratcheting up significantly. And I mean, I'm glad you talk about that because not a lot of people talk about that. It's not all fun and games. Like when you have, everyone wants like, 100,000, a 200, $300,000 car. It seems really cool, but try to park one of those things. You're like, when you got a $300,000 car and you pull into a parking lot, you're like, there's nowhere I'm going to park because now I'm so stressed out someone's going to scratch it and I can't pay that bill, or I don't want to pay that bill. So it's like, it looks really cool from the outside, but everything that's super cool from the outside comes with a unique set of problems.
That goes for people's lives too.
Yeah.
In most cases, you see what they want you to see, right? It's the image that's portrayed, and it's just in our psychological nature, right? We live in a status-driven society where we want to always keep up with the Joneses, have the nice cars, nice stuff, and we don't
Yeah.
open up. It's like even going to church and maintaining your best, Sunday, your Sunday's church face.
Yeah.
But I really believe that the most growth happens when you're radically transparent, right? And you can leave
Yeah.
yourself vulnerable with the people that you trust, because that's the space where you can help each other to grow and move and press forward through those struggles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of business owners that I talk to, a lot that I know on a very personal level, and I know a lot of them now just because that's the circle we're all in, right?
Right.
And those are the people we associate with, and I don't know any who don't have massive struggles, whether it's balancing the personal life and the business life, whether it's maintaining a certain level of success, whether it's worried about the impact they're going to have on their team members and taking care of them and making sure they're always fed and always safe. And there's this duality. There's a massive struggle. And it's like what the iceberg theory, right? Where you just see the tip of the iceberg. Like that's success. People just see the top of the iceberg, but there's a lot going on underneath. And I'll tell you what, not all successful people are happy. A lot of them are really struggling. But again, just transparency. That's it. Being successful is not easy, and it's not fun and games all the time. And sometimes you get to do cool stuff, have cool experiences. But with every cool experience comes sometimes a lot of heartache and stress and different things that balance it out.
For those much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
You got to be a professional firefighter,
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
it. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up, man. What's your favorite book and why?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot. It's the same answer every time. Richard Branson wrote a book called "Screw It, Let's Do It." It was the book that propelled me to start my own business, and every time I have a tough decision to make, that's the book I fall back on. And you don't even have to read the book; the title says it all. "Screw It, Let's Do It," and basically chronicles Richard Branson's his life through business. And every time he had a massive decision to make, it always came down to, he just say, screw it, let's do it. Which comes down to that action, right? Always taking action. And that's how he got where he was. And sometimes he won, sometimes he lost, sometimes he learned a lesson. But that was his philosophy. And I think it served him well. And I've seen it serve a lot of others well. So I think that's like a must read. It's a simple book. It's an entertaining book. It's a fun book. But I think it's a must read for any business owner.
That's strong. That's the first one I've heard that one. What is your favorite quote?
Ooh, favorite quote. I'll butcher this one. And I don't know if it's a favorite, but it's one that's been on my mind this last few years because, as part of that taking action and part of making mistakes and learning from them, part of my lessons learned were partnering with different businesses, some that ended up being tremendous successes, some that weren't successes, some that caused a lot of heartache and struggle without a lot of reward, some that were super easy with a lot of reward. But something I learned through there that I heard a Warren Buffett quote that just summed it up perfectly. And before I do anything with anyone outside of my own business, I always remind myself of this quote, and I won't get it right exactly, but I think Warren Buffett said, "You can't do a good deal with a bad person." And I think early in my career, when I looked at deals, I looked at what has potential for growth and money and all that kind of stuff. And now when I look at doing any kind of deal with anybody, the first question is this a good person? And then I know, hey, no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. And that's the first judgment I always use. Is this a good person? Because you can't do a good deal with a bad person.
Wow. Crazy how your perspective changes in different seasons, right?
Yeah.
And the things that at one point were so important, like that money or that success, are really irrelevant in the big scheme of things, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on, John. It's been powerful, man.
Yeah, Ben.
Awesome having you on board.
Been a pleasure.
Tell us the best place for people to find you online.
Yeah, MidwestRev.com. My company's Midwest Revenue Group. So it's Midwest REV as in Victor, MidwestRev.com. You can find all our stuff on there. Also have a YouTube channel by the same name. We do lots of free content and videos and stuff on there.
That's awesome. John Martinez, everyone. Y'all go check him out.
Thanks, Ben.
Absolutely.